Welcome back. It's another crochet tutorial by Cornflower. So today I will be showing you how to make a sphere, but here are a few projects I've made with Amigurumi. So to show you the stitches you will need for Amigurumi, I will make a sphere. So you're going to take your yarn and make a knot. And then again, you're going to have a nice big loop and a decent sized tail. And then you're going to put your crochet hook in. And then your tail will become longer, and you want to make sure that your loop on the crochet hook is tight but still a little loose. And then what you're going to do, you're going to take a stitch, and then you're going to pull the tail and make it a little tighter. Then you're going to do 2 chains. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this part of the chain, stitch, put your hook through, and then do this, including that stitch, 6 stitches. So in doing that, you're going to see that it creates a big circle. And this is when the tail becomes important. So I took my hook out of the loop around, and then you're going to pull. You want to make sure that it's nice and tight, because when you pull it nice and tight, it automatically stays there and doesn't go anywhere. So I put my stitch marker in. There's 2 different ones. One of them looks like a little circle with an open end, and then these that look like a safety pin. I highly recommend the safety pin looking ones, because if you need to come back and if you have to go somewhere, you can just close it. And so, but for this, so you want to make sure that you have 6 stitches. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then what you're going to do next is put your hook into the first stitch, and then you're just going to do an increase, but increase is just putting 2 stitches into 1 stitch. So do it in all of the stitches. And see how in the last stitch I took out my stitch marker. It's important to do that, otherwise your stitch marker is stuck inside of your project. But anyway, since I did increase stitch, or 2 stitches in 1 stitch, and all of my stitches, I should have 12 stitches. But it's important to go back and count and see how many stitches you have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But for example, if I did not have 12 stitches, you would just repeat the pattern. So next, putting my stitch marker back in the first stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. So we do 1 single crochet, the first stitch, and then in the second stitch, you're going to do an increase. And then you'll just repeat the pattern the whole way around. And so, since the last round had 12 stitches, and in general, whenever you start out with 6 stitches, the pattern should repeat itself 6 different times. So the increases will be in multiples of 6. So this means this round should have 18 stitches. So if you count it once, and if you think you missed a stitch, go back and count it again. And if you got a different number, count it a 3rd time. It's important to make sure that you have enough stitches. From then on, it just goes in pattern. Now we're going to do 2 stitches and then an increase. Now to make sure I have 24 stitches. Now since the last run was 2 stitches and then an increase, this will be 3 and increase. So this round you should have 30 stitches till round 8. But if you want to make yours bigger, feel free to. And for just doing this, I'm gonna just single crochet. So right now, this is round 5, and you can count it out loud. Sometimes that helps me just saying like 5, or just do it in your head and keep track. But it's important to keep track, otherwise, instead of making a sphere, you'll make a cylinder. Round 7. This is my last round before I show you how to decrease. And that is the end of round 8. So your sphere might look a little weird right now, but things in Amigurumi, things always look a little weird before you stuff them and once they're done. But during those few rounds, I just do the rounds and I do not count the stitches. But if you do, that's okay. It just takes longer. So since at the end of 8 rounds, you should have 30 stitches. And so for the decrease, you're gonna stitch in 3 stitches. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your hook in the first part of the stitch. So right there, and then you're gonna do the same thing in the next stitch. And then you'll have part of the 2 stitches and then just a loop on your hook. So you're gonna loop over, pull through those 2, and then pull through the last 2. So it's just like doing a stitch, but it's a little different. So part of one stitch, part of the next. So in general, that should not happen. Most of the time you will end where the stitch marker is, but I think I might have messed up somewhere during the round. But I'm gonna double check how many stitches I have to see if I did mess up. But it seems I did not mess up. So in that case, I still have 24 stitches, and I'll just put my stitch marker in this stitch. And so for this next decrease pattern, you'll do 2 stitches and then a decrease. And so now you'll see that you'll have 2 stitches right there, and that's how you should end on a decrease round. So I made sure that I had 18 stitches, which is the correct amount of stitches you should have on this round. And so now I will continue to decrease. This next round will be a 12. You will decrease to 12 stitches. You'll see that it looks a little weird, but it will look much better once you stuff it. So for this 12 round, you will just do a stitch and then decrease. So I made sure I had 12 stitches, and then this round you're gonna stuff your spear. So I got my stuffing, and I got a lot, but in general when you're stuffing these, you're gonna use a lot more than you expect to. So I'm just gonna break apart a piece and shove it through the hole. In general, when I'm working on a project, I like to stuff at the second to last round, because you still have a big enough hole to go in and put in the stuffing. But at this 6th round, hole's a lot smaller, and it is harder to stuff then. So now we have it stuffed, and now I'm going to do the 6 crochet round, where you just decrease all the way. And so now you're gonna notice that overall it's pretty well stuffed, but it just needs a little more stuffing. When you're stuffing, kind of play around with it. Squish it, flatten it, roll it around. You just want to have a nice, even look about it. When you're done stuffing, you're just going to do decreases in all of the 12 stitches. And so hopefully by the end, you'll only have 6 stitches. Just going to play with it. And I feel pretty happy with it. So what I'm going to do next is grab a yarn needle. As you can tell, I have many yarn needles, but I want to find one with a bigger eye. And the eye is right there, and that is most important for finishing off your work, because I wouldn't want to use this size of eye because it's really small and my yarn is thicker. This would be using a yarn that required like a 1mm crochet hook, but since I am using a 5mm crochet hook, I'm going to want a bigger one. And in general, the needles, the end of the needle for yarn needles are really blunt, so you're less likely to poke yourself and have it bleed. So what you're gonna, to get your needle on, what I like to do, there's many different ways, but I put the yarn over it, and then I put my thumb down and apply pressure to it, then I go across the widest part of the eye, and then you're gonna have a little small loop, and then you're just gonna press down over it and pull it through. There are many different ways. This is just the way how I use. And so now what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take the top part of the stitch and close it. You'll have to go through almost all of the stitches in order to get a nice close, but it does not take too long to do that. And since I went through probably the majority of the stitches. It closed real nice. And then what I'm going to do with my needle is I'm going to put it through this hole and I'm going to shove it towards the top of my little sphere. Sometimes it can be a little difficult with the stuffing, but you just gotta force it through. And as you can tell, this is being a little difficult, but if it's being difficult, find another way to get it to top or a side that's farther away from the bottom, because you don't just want, if you trim the yarn right now, you're gonna have a small tail and you don't want to see tails in your work. I did not understand that, so if you look at some of my first projects, the tails are just hanging out and it doesn't look as good. But since I was able to get it through this time, you just pull it out and you want to pull it so the bottom goes in, and see how it's very tight and brings down right there. You're gonna cut it. And since it got a little tight, you wanna just kind of play with it around to get it back to normal. And that is how you make a little sphere-like thing.
Like and subscribe, comment to give us more video ideas.